Welcome back to Truth Bomber TV. We're talking about fear-based patterns today and how the outside world is designed to test us on our fear-based patterns and see if we will fall into them. Everything here is exactly as it needs to be in order to see exactly what is inside each and every one of us. So we need to figure out how to get out of our fear-based patterns and break up with them. So the planet is designed to push us into fear, and the narcissists are ready to capitalize on our fear. The news, the media, it's all these fear-based ideologies that are happening. The coronavirus is here. You're gonna die. There's no food at the grocery stores. You're gonna have no food. Please hoard everything. Insurance companies capitalize on fear because it's this ego's desire to control outcomes and to make sure if something bad happens, then I have some sort of insurance system, which is not a bad thing when it's within balance. The medical systems live on fear. You need this vaccine in order to keep you from getting sick. You need this pill in order to take care of whatever kind of issues you have. And you wish after you have those vaccines or pills that you would have just had the original physical issue that you had, because it creates a lot of other physical problems when you start tampering with the body's natural harmony. And most physical illnesses in my mind are from emotional issues, from karma, from living in different fear-based patterns, living in ego. All of these things connect to our energy systems, and our energy systems are what start shutting down, and then the physical illness happens that corresponds with it. So once you start seeing the importance of getting out of your fear-based patterns, it's really amazing. Everything changes for you. Your relationships, your career. A lot of people are staying in dysfunctional relationships because they're afraid to go out on their own. A lot of people are staying at jobs they hate because they are afraid of making it in their own business. And now look at what's happening with small businesses as they try to squash them and push everyone into these bigger companies that own everything. So once you see your fear-based patterns in your life and you decide to move out of them, then you stop worrying so much about what the outside world is doing, except for allowing it to look at yourself and see what you are doing. So notice all the ways that the outside world is set up to call your name and see if you will join the negative emotion crowd, the fear-based thinking crowd, the anger and resentment and hostility crowd, the fear or despair or grief, hopelessness, victimization, blaming. Blaming is a very low emotion, and a lot of things are going on right now that's blaming. So it really moves us into this unhappiness domain when we have these patterns. And we've got to start looking at ourselves and becoming the highest version of ourselves in order for the outside world to reflect that. So how do we overcome our fear-based patterns? We need to recognize we need a certain amount of fear. We need a certain amount of fear in order to get us going, in order to not jump off of a cliff, in order to have some senses of security, because it is faith-based, but it is also about what you can do for yourself. But if it is out of control and dysfunctional, it leads to a lot of different habits like greed, fear of not getting enough, or fear of losing control, fear of being judged or criticized by other people. And so people do not know how to be their authentic selves anymore. Fear of being inadequate, shame, low self-worth, fear of getting trapped, fear of victimization. All of these different patterns lead us into every single situation of our life. And if we are running an imbalance of it, we have suffering. Suffering is designed to teach us where we made the wrong choice, where we took the wrong path, and now we need to take the right one. So ask yourself where you're living in fear, in victimization, and powerless, lower emotions, and how you can rewire your response. That's where we take our personal power back. And that's how we unconditionally love, forgive, and live in peace, even when the narcissists are pushing fear-based thinking. So once you overstep the reason they are here and you understand they have a purpose in seeing it, you will be triggered into it, then you no longer have the negative emotions against other people. So if you have a fear-based pattern where you think there is not enough and you're living in scarcity, then you will be upset with people that you think control abundance. So if the grocery store has no food and you live in fear-based thinking, you will say, it's the government's fault. It's their fault. If you live in faith-based thinking, you will think, if the grocery store doesn't have food, there will be food somewhere, because the earth is full of abundance. And these are just spiritual tests for me to decide what choice I'm going to make. If you look at animals right now, they don't even know what's going on in the world. Right now, at the time of this video, the coronavirus is running rampant and the fear is running crazy. And when I look outside at my little goats or my dogs, I see there is no clue whatsoever. There's no desire to control outcomes. They are just simply living in the now and dealing with what's happening. They don't even care if it's going to rain tomorrow or what the weather is going to be like the next day. They are just simply living in the now and know that the earth is going to give them what they need if the store runs out of food. So it's important to look and start thinking in different ways about what our fear-based patterns are. If we're at a job that we hate, where we feel undervalued and we feel like we are not living up to our own personal best, then we will hate the job, hate the people that run the job. We will say it is their fault, but really we're living in the comfort zone. We're not stepping outside of our fear-based patterns. We're not living to our highest possible self by following whatever our creative passions and gifts that God gave us or the Creator gave us to do on this earth. So we all have these gifts and talents. And when we decide not to pursue them and we fall into some humdrum job that gives us a paycheck, some comfort and security, then it all comes together where there is suffering, there is a low-paying job, or it is not what you are worth because you're living in fear-based patterns. So everything here has a purpose. Our mission is to tame the beast within by using the beast out there to test us. If you want to start a business, a small business right now, and all small businesses are failing, it's going to take a lot of faith. And the same thing with the narcissist on a small scale. If you want to start a business, they probably have the worst story of someone who lost everything, poured a ton of money and energy into it, and didn't get anything out of it. They have that story to see, will you decide to live in fear? And that's why they are important. The dysfunctions of society are necessary in order to see what's inside of us and if we'll get triggered. So once you see their role in our development as crucial, it takes a lot of negative emotions out of the way. The blaming, the victimizing, the anger, the resentment, all of these things we do not fall into anymore because we're like, oh, you're here just to test me. You're just here to push to see if I will have that dysfunctional ego running program an inner beast inside myself. And then you allow everyone to make their own choices. You know that everything here is just a setup to see what is inside each and every single person. And their job, their role is to be one way or the other in order to help you let go of your attachments of fixing, healing, and solving the world's problems. So if every single one of us fix, heal, and solve our own problems, our own inadequacies, everywhere we're dropping into lower emotions, we can have a powerful effect on the outside world. I love the saying with Marianne Williams, and personal growth can be painful because it makes us feel ashamed and humiliated to face our own darkness. But our spiritual goal is to journey out of fear-based, painful mental habit patterns to those of love and peace. And this is what we are doing here, working through all of our inadequacies, working through all of our negative emotions in order to see what's going on inside of us and use them as a roadmap. When you understand that you are living in fear-based patterns, if you decide to judge, criticize, and hate yourself for it, then there's a negative consequence for that. So if you are awake and aware and you know what your issues are, your shortcomings, it can lead to a cataclysm of self-hate, which is definitely the most important thing for people that are critical of themselves, is to unconditionally love themselves and all these dysfunctional patterns before they can move out of it. Because it may not be hard for you to forgive others, but it may be hard to forgive yourself. So I hope that's helped you to understand how us working on our fear-based patterns as individuals can affect the world as a whole. And staying in constant positive emotions takes working through all of your issues and becoming the highest version of yourself on this earth. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and I will see you next week.